Let me paint you a picture. Maple Creek was one of those perfectly manicured suburban neighborhoods where every lawn was the same shade of green, and every mailbox stood at exactly the same height. It was the kind of place where people smiled at you on their morning jog, but would report you to the HOA if your garden hose was left out past 6 p.m. I had lived there for 11 years, 11 years of following the rules, attending the meetings, and paying my dues on time, every single month. But about 2 years ago, something shifted. A woman named Linda Marsh got herself elected as HOA president. Linda was the type of person who had probably been waiting her entire life for a little bit of power. The moment she had it, she squeezed it like a vice. She introduced enhanced community standards, created a neighborhood watch group that was really just a gossip circle, and began sending formal violation notices for things like the wrong shade of beige on a front door or a welcome mat she personally found distasteful. For most of my neighbors, Linda was just an annoying inconvenience. They paid their fines, changed their door colors, and moved on. I watched quietly and said nothing. I am not a confrontational person by nature. 30 years as a federal judge will teach you that patience is more powerful than anger. But Linda was about to learn that lesson the hard way. It started with a letter slipped under my door on a Tuesday morning. It was printed on official HOA letterhead. Linda had designed it herself, complete with a gold seal she'd had made. At the local copy shop, the letter informed me that my property had been flagged for a mandatory interior compliance inspection under a new bylaw she had quietly pushed through the previous month. The bylaw claimed the HOA had the right to inspect the interior of any home in the community to ensure residents were not conducting activities inconsistent with community values. I read it twice. Then I set it on my kitchen counter and made myself a cup of coffee. I knew exactly what this was. It was a power play, plain and simple. Linda had targeted me because I had asked pointed questions at the last HOA meeting about where the quarterly dues were being spent. She hadn't liked that. Nobody who abuses power ever likes accountability. I sent a polite but firm written response. I told Linda that no such inspection would be taking place, that the bylaw she had cited was almost certainly unenforceable under state law, and that I would be happy to discuss any legitimate concerns at the next community meeting. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 3 days later, I received a second letter. This one was sharper in tone. It stated that failure to comply with the inspection would result in daily fines and potential legal action. I wrote back again, this time a little more directly. I cited 3 specific sections of state property law. I told her clearly, do not come to my home unannounced. Do not attempt to enter my property without my explicit permission and a valid legal warrant. She ignored every word. It was a Saturday. I was sitting at my kitchen table in my robe, reading case briefs over a second cup of coffee, when I heard the front door open. Not a knock. The door opened. I looked up to see Linda Marsh standing in my entryway, clipboard in hand, reading glasses perched on her nose, with 2 other HOA board members hovering behind her like nervous shadows. She was smiling the smile of someone who had never once considered that things might not go her way. "Good morning," she said cheerfully, already scanning the room with her clipboard raised. "We're here for the interior inspection. We did send notice. If you'll just let us have a look around." "You just walked into my home," I said. My voice was very calm. The same voice I use in court when a lawyer has just said something extraordinarily foolish and doesn't yet realize it. She blinked. "Well, the door was unlocked and—" "You opened my door," I said, standing up slowly, "without my consent, without a warrant, and without any legal authority to do so. You have just committed criminal trespass under this state's statutes. Do you understand that?" Linda laughed, a short, nervous little sound. "Oh, I don't think we need to get dramatic about—" "My name," I said quietly, "is Judge Harold R. Whitfield. I have served on the federal bench for 30 years. I am not being dramatic. I am telling you exactly what just happened and exactly what is going to happen next if you do not remove yourself from my home in the next 30 seconds. The clipboard lowered. The smile disappeared. Behind her, one of the board members had already taken a step backward toward the door. Linda and her companions left my home quickly. She muttered something about misunderstandings on her way out, but I was already reaching for my phone. I called the non-emergency police line and filed a formal report. The officer who came out was professional and thorough. He took my statement, reviewed my written correspondence with the HOA, and confirmed that what had occurred met the legal definition of criminal trespass in our state. Linda was contacted by police that same afternoon. By Sunday morning, word had spread through the neighborhood the way things always do in communities like ours, quickly and completely. By Monday, I had received calls from 6 other homeowners who had been subjected to similar intimidation tactics, fines for made-up violations, and in 2 cases, threats of legal action over things that were never violations at all. They had all been afraid to speak up. They weren't afraid anymore. I contacted a colleague who specialized in property and HOA law. Together, we sent a formal legal notice to the HOA board. We outlined the unlawful bylaw Linda had pushed through, the pattern of harassment, the financials, irregularities in the dues reporting, and the criminal trespass incident in detail. We gave the board 10 business days to respond with a plan for corrective action. We also filed a formal complaint with the state's HOA regulatory body, something most homeowners don't even know exists. Within 2 weeks, an investigation had been opened. The new bylaw was suspended pending review. 3 board members quietly resigned, including both of the people who had been standing in my doorway. Linda herself resigned from the HOA presidency. 8 days after the investigation was announced, releasing a brief statement about personal reasons and needing to focus on family. The police matter was referred to the county district attorney. Linda was ultimately issued a formal citation and required to complete a community education program. It wasn't a prison sentence, but it was on record, and it was real. I want to be honest with you about something. I didn't fight back because I'm a judge. I fought back because what Linda was doing was wrong, and it was wrong whether it was happening to me or to the retired teacher 2 doors down who cried on the phone when she told me about the fines she couldn't afford. Power used to bully ordinary people is still abuse, regardless of whether the title behind it is HOA president or anything else. What I had that many of my neighbors didn't was the knowledge to recognize exactly which laws had been broken and the confidence to say so out loud. That's not special. That's information. And information is something everyone deserves access to. Know your property rights. Read your HOA bylaws carefully. Understand that HOAs have real limits on their authority and that those limits are enforced by actual law. Document everything. Respond in writing. And remember that a bully with a clipboard is still just a bully. Maple Creek is a quieter, more respectful place now. A new HOA board was elected, made up of people who actually wanted to serve the community rather than control it. The fines that had been improperly issued were reviewed and, in most cases, refunded. The neighborhood meetings became something people actually looked forward to again. As for the morning Linda walked through my door, I think about it sometimes, not with anger, that passed quickly. I think about it because it is a perfect reminder that the people who believe rules don't apply to them are almost always the ones who have never truly faced the consequences of being wrong. And the moment they do, the moment they look across a kitchen table at someone who knows exactly what just happened and exactly what to do about it, that smile disappears very, very fast. Don't let anyone walk through your door uninvited, not literally, and not in any other way either.